Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 30 of Chris Gogelin's GEMP game review series. This week we're going to be doing a little throwback edition. We want to showcase some of the alternate formats that are available on GEMP. It's not just the current competitive open environment. We've already we did a sealed deck video a couple months back, focused on some of the sealed deck options available. But today we're going to be talking a little bit more about one of the alternate formats, the Premiere through Death Star 2 format. Um, this was kind of the point in the game where most people considered that to be like the pinnacle of the game in terms of its popularity, in terms of its overall sales and marketing. This is right before all the Episode 1 stuff started coming out, before Decipher started oversaturating their player base, really with Young Jedi and then with Jedi Knights. Um, before they came out with all the maintenance cards and everything that really just started to power creep the game out of control. So Premiere through Death Star 2. So if you're on GEMP, and of course everybody just finished their game, there were just a couple of like 3 or 4 tables of people playing Premiere through Death Star 2 about a half hour ago that were going on in here, and I was like, great, this is awesome. I can jump in and quick review, take a look at some of like the live games that are actually going on right now. There is one still going on right here, Amber and Diminisher. We're just going to pop into that real fast just to see, what the format. Obviously, you've got chat in the casual games. There is an alternate league that does pop up from time to time. Okay, so what do we got here? We've got some type of Coruscant docking bay, a bunch of just mains, like a Coruscant mains deck, I guess, against some type of, looks like an EBO deck. We've got Salacious Crumb instead of Jetpack. Salacious Crumb with a jetpack. All right. Yeah, some of the crazy stuff you see in these alternate formats, but sometimes it works. Um, you just get all kinds of places. I mean, I guess that's not bad. You move from the fourth marker, land speed 3, right? You don't got to worry about walking through all these sites one at a time. You just jump right over them. But I mean, you've got Emperor Janus, Lord Vader. Looks like this is EBO. Or at least it may have been EBO at one point before it possibly got canceled. Um, so that's just some of the stuff that's going on there. But to find out, right now there currently is not a league going. The current league is Premier and A New Hope, but they may start another league soon. That would be Premier through Death Star 2. If you go right here to the format rules, you can see all the different formats that are played on GEMP, and it's kind of a laundry list of stuff. It can get a little confusing. But Premier through Death Star 2 is right down here. These are all of the expansions that are valid. Premier through Death Star 2, the 2-player games, the Rebel Leader Pack, first, second, third anthology, the enhanced Premier Cloud City Jabba's Palace, and the Jabba's Palace Seal Deck. This is a pretty important addition, and it's one that I believe, I forget the exact timeline, but I believe that this Jabba's Palace Seal Deck came out just after the World Championships in 2000. It may have been a pre-release there, or it came out shortly thereafter. But if I recall correctly, the cards from that were not available in the 2000 World Championship deck lists. And it certainly does have a big influence on some of the deck design. Specifically, 2 cards that are very key are No Escape and the light side version Unita. We'll pull those up here. Deploy on table, immediately take top card of lost pile into hand. Okay, that's not such a big deal. None Shall Pass is unique and a lost interrupt. That certainly helps against a lot of the scum decks because those are pretty popular in this limited format, especially Court. At each opponent's diamond site, your characters and vehicles are deploy -3 and your force generation is +1. This is very key because one of the other big popular decks for Darkside in this format is Raltier Operations, and Raltier plays all of the diamond generic sites, and in their objective makes all rebels deploy +2. So making your guys now deploy -3 actually makes them deploy a little cheaper, and it's all characters, so even your aliens and there are no just Jedi Masters that can go there, but your aliens too. Your aliens would probably practically be free at this point. And then your force generation being +1 at each site, which means all those 1/1 diamond sites are now 1/2 sites. You can't get drained for the extra one, but you do get the extra activation from it. And again, some of the more popular light side decks, they can really out activate dark side and that. So that's a something that keeps router operations definitely in check is Unita, and it is immune to alter, so you can start it. But if you're curious about what cards are legal and trying to build yourself a deck, right here in the GEMP deck builder, you can go to Format, and there's all these different formats that are going on here, and you can just go to Premier through Death Star 2. Basically, you can limit yourself just about at every set. So you pick Premier through Death Star 2, and now this is going to limit your card pool options to only cards that are legal in that format, so you can build your 60 card deck, and then you can just change your side. Like I want to build a dark side deck, now here's all the dark side cards, and then I can just go find all the cards for a particular deck that I want, and just fill them in here, one by one, picking cards as I go. I want to add these guys, and I'm going to play Suns down. And then this part down here outside the deck really won't come into play unless you're playing hidden base for light side. This is where you can put your extra systems. So at the start of the game, you would still get to choose what you wanted to use as your marker system. Even in the limited format, it does still use the current rules. There are not separate rules for each format based on how the game was played in 1999 or 2000 or 2001. It would take forever to program all those extra rules and things in and those specific things, and it'd be very confusing for people, what was legal then. So everything is played under the current rule structure and rule system, including the rule that the hidden base marker is outside your deck and does not count toward your 60 card limit. So we covered all that. We'll just pop back. Wrong thing. So obviously, yes, there's always some chat going on. Just make sure. Okay, so there's nobody waiting to play. So we're going to jump into a game review here. I asked Batmouse, who runs the leagues on GEMP. He'd been playing one of the other formats that they do is kind of like it rotates each section throughout. It's like an open series kind of thing where, the first 2 weeks will be like Premiere through Special Edition, and then they'll do a Premiere through Death Star 2 for 2 weeks, and then they'll rotate again and do, like a classic no virtual card, and then they'll do like an open, and it's like 4 series, and the scoring is progressive, so it's cumulative. So it kind of really tests your ability to play in a variety of different formats. And a couple weeks back, he was playing, it was Premiere through Death Star 2, and I asked him to send me a couple of his game links, so thanks to Batmouse for submitting these. We're going to see how many we have time to get through. Like I mentioned earlier, I had to start the show a little early tonight. I do have plans this evening. Kind of came up last minute. A buddy of mine sent me a message last night at like 9:30 saying, "Hey, I got an extra ticket for Monday Night Raw tomorrow night." That's wrestling for those of you who don't follow it. He's like, "Do you want to go?" I'm like, yes, I do want to go. So Batmouse will be playing. Looks like he's starting he's starting operational plans. Looks like he's playing TTO, and his opponent Humanhydra. Yeah, he's playing TTO. All right. Okay, and his opponent Humanhydra started the Bane power generators and the 4th marker, and he's going to use the signal for a new secret base. So I would expect some type of EBO off this. Very key differences, of course, between people who are used to playing open format and this limited format. No defensive shields, so no automatic grabbers, no secret plans, no Kamiri Big Coward, no battle plan. None of that stuff. If you want to play those cards, some of them are available. Some of them are, main decked. You could play secret plans in there. You could play. I'm gonna pause this for a second. So yeah, so you could play all those cards in your main deck if you want. Just take a quick peek, see if he's got any of them in here. It doesn't look like he does. Looks like he's just going to try and out-damage his opponent. But he's not playing anything like secret plans or whatnot to try and slow down his opponent's force retrieval. So if his opponent he's got a sense and a voyeur, that might come in handy, I guess. But if your opponent was playing something like Harvest or On the Edge, they would just be retrieving at will. Looking at this, and everyone will be draining for free, not having to pay the 3 force. not being limited. If you had a guy with a lightsaber at the first marker, that would be a drain for one. It wouldn't be paying for it, and Coward wouldn't be out to stop it. So certainly a lot of alternate strategies going on in these formats that can really take a little while to get used to, and remember that the game was certainly played a bit differently back then. But I do want to point out the card he started was Desperate Counter, which deploys on the Death Star 2 system. This is the way the deck used to be played. When opponent moves from a related sector for each tie armed with a weapon, their movement destiny is -3. So this limits their movement destinies a little bit. You don't have the We Shall Double Our Efforts card that came out in the Tatooine expansion. So that is not available. That reduces. So this was the other way of playing the deck. It also lets you get Combat Response or Imperial Arrest Order. Combat Response lets you match up your ships for ties. It does not let you move them, though, like the virtual version does. And then Imperial Arrest Order obviously lets you pull Docking Bays to get those out of your deck. And you can get the Death Star Docking Bay and put Jar Jar there or something, or just get extra force activation, or just make some of your Imperial pilots forfeit +2. There's a couple of them, Major Mienda, DS612, DS613, that might be floating around in here with their matching ties that could get a forfeit bump. Got 2 sectors in his opening hand, though. That's certainly going to speed things along. He's got the Executor Docking Bay and the Super Laser. Second marker, third. He could actually get this all up and going turn 1, which is pretty crazy. He's going to go with the Executor Docking Bay. Yep, it's in there. So is the other sector. He can go sector, sector, sector. TTO. Wow. That's pretty crazy to get all that going right off the bat. Doesn't have a system yet to move, to move it to. But your opponent's going to put out Hoth, right? So you might as well get that Death Star rolling. Wow, and he draws Sullust, and there's black 3. There's the TIE cannon. I'm sure we'll see Baron in here. X-Wings. Okay, very common with light side EBO strategies to play just generic ships, whether it's a fleet of X-Wings, the Red Squadron X-Wings, and Gold Squadron Y-Wings from the Tournament Seal deck are pretty good. Their ability to, they've got decent power, forfeit modifiers. When you factor in the forfeit bonus from like EBO, or the deploy modifier from EBO, and the possibility of Haven as well showing up. Oh, he puts out Mon Calamari as well. That's going to give him a system to immediately move to. I wouldn't have put that out just yet if you didn't need it to. Simply because now you've given your opponent a system to move their Death Star to orbit. But he didn't pull TTO, which I'm a little surprised at because it was there and it was in his reserve deck. But I don't see it deployed here. Oh, he gets lucky, it's still in there. Because if he had activated this turn, he would have really thrown himself back and given up the huge head start he got. But now he can get his Death Star moving. Piet's going to pull a commander. Commander Marajik is a good one. Major Mienda is also a commander. Something to keep in mind with Piet. It says in his game text he's commander of something, so that counts. He's got Marajik out. Piet for Marajik is a good way to get systems, because Marajik lets you pull a system when he's at a Scomp Link. May deploy 1 battleground system from reserve deck. And he's just going to draw to get some of his ships and pilots. Doesn't move his Death Star again, though. Interesting. I guess he's just slow playing it, but I'd have got that Death Star rolling. I mean, obviously, if he doesn't have a ship there, he's not doing any damage yet anyway, but another one of the key rather degenerate card sometimes you'll see in this format. More commonly played is Talon Roll. Certainly could come in handy in this matchup. We've got several tie LNs between black 2 and 3, and they're matching pilots and rebel starships with these generic X-Wings and such. There's the 3. Oh, so he's got the 3 Echo locations out. He occupies with the X-Wing, Hobby, and Zev. So if he has the EBO, he can go ahead and deploy it, which he did. There it is. Yep, that's a new secret base. I clicked on the wrong one. So yeah, so he's got EBO out. System locations, deploy -1, drain +2, total power +3. Then he'll shift his guys over. Does Hobby doesn't draw by himself. He's got his ship with an X-Wing cannon, which shoots for cheaper. He only has to use 2 force instead of 3. Not quite as good as Baron, but still cheaper. Cheaper's good. Magic will get that other system out. He's going to check for his pilots. Black 2 was in there, so he could match for that. Just has to be careful, though, because these ties can't move. Unlike the virtual combat response that lets ties relocate, the generic ties here, they can't move. So if they kind of get overpowered, they could be stuck there. But with tricks like Dark Maneuvers Talon Roll, it is a little harder to do in this format. He's going to Janus card back. Draws a Gick. Can't go wrong with that. He's going to move the Death Star to Parsec 6. Now orbiting Kashyyyk. And then I'll start doing his 2 ping damage return from EBO. And it looks like he's going to docking bay transit his horde of characters from the Executor docking bay to the Endor docking bay, giving him another drain. And it's a battleground. Not that it matters, because battle order is not out. But if his opponent were to play it from hand, play battle plan or something, he would satisfy it now and could get around that. I wouldn't expect to see his opponent play that, though, in this type of deck. Usually, if you're operating a lot more heavily in one theater, then you kind of want to not play that type of card because you don't want to pay for it. Well, that's pretty key. We've got the Bantha droid, who cancels lateral damage at a related system. So that's one good way to cancel lateral damage. Here come a bunch of cheap X-Wings. He gets 2 cheap generic X-Wings down. Hobby gets in. We'll see X-Wing number 3 take off and Hobby take off along with him. No Haven out yet, but his hand's pretty small, so I'm sure he's going to draw up a bunch of these cards. But he's certainly threatening quite a bit of damage himself. This will be a drain to 3 because of EBO, and no resistance shield, so if you wanted to limit that damage, you got to do it the old-fashioned way. Oh, he does draw Imperial Decree, though. You control any 2 Rebel base locations or 1 site and 2 systems. You could cancel the effect of all the force drain bonuses. So if he can get a second system here, he can go to Endor or Mon Calamari, get a second system, and then this would kick in, and that would only be a drain of 1. That would certainly be a very productive way to limit your force loss. He's going to get a drain of 2. I'll get a drain of 1 at the docking bay, and then he'll get 2 ping damage from TTO. So he's causing 5 damage a turn here. It's actually going to be more on the light side player's responsibility to do something about that, because between the amount of cards they put on the table, they're certainly falling behind here. We've got Baron coming down to Endor. giving him another drain of 2 and a third battleground uh, to combo up there for Imperial Decree to cancel the force drain bonus. Would definitely expect light side after they drain to move some of their ships. And just see what kind of trouble they can get into. See, Jerry wasn't here to remind me to do that. I know it's because I started early. Batmouse is going to Omnibox just to shuffle. He's really just tracking around to 5 in case he needs it to shoot at something with Baron or to Talon Roll. You got Dark Maneuvers, you got Major Meanda. Emperor adds 1 to the drain with Janus, so that's not bad. Got good staying power on the ground. Lightside does have a lot of EPPs at their disposal. Between all the enhanced cards are legal in this format, so he Dark Maneuvers at the start of the turn, putting a 6 there. Now he's going to put a card underneath it, so now he knows what the bottom 2 cards of his reserve deck are. And he activates enough force that he can get down to them next turn, so he can definitely set some stuff up here. Oh, okay, Rebel Fleet. Rebel Fleet cancels drains like Den of Thieves. He placed non-unique starfighters on it to cancel force drains, so that can certainly slow things down and delay things a little bit. He's going to move to Endor. He's moving in front of Baron. Oof. Gotta be careful there. Also cost +1 per ship to move to Endor from the objective on the system. So that's going to get expensive real quick. Obviously, yes, Baron can't move. Baron could land if he felt pressured by this, but more likely than not, we're just going to see Baron shoot Hobby. It's Hobby's piling. It's maneuver +2, so it's maneuver 6. But that shouldn't be too hard, especially considering he's tracked some destinies around. He could activate 14. Well, he's going to Janus for a card first. He could activate 13 now. Oh, he's going to leave himself a couple extra. He drains for 2 at the docking bay. That adds 1 because of the Admiral's order. Docking bays related to systems you occupy. Drains are +1. So that drain there. That gets canceled by Rebel Fleet. He gets a drain of 2 here at Kashyyyk, causing him to lose an All Wings and a Kifix, and then he's going to get 2 more damage. There goes a narrow escape. It's going to be tough for Humanhydra to bounce back from this. The faster start will certainly limit, didn't give him quite as much time to set up as he needed. But if he can win a battle or 2 in space, he'd be in good shape, and the ability of his ships to move will certainly help. He's going to go for the Dark Maneuvers and the Talon Roll. See if Hydra has the it's a hit or whatever to cancel it. But I would expect to see put the presence on the docking bay, but I would expect to see the Talon Roll come down first. He's going to put the Emperor at the docking bay, so he's really stacking up that ground drain as well. Let's see who he's going after. If he's going for broke and going after Hobby, now he's just going to take out one of the regular X-Wings. He draws the Vader, though. That was the lone bad destiny that was in the deck, was that 1. He still has a pretty good total, though. Oh, and his opponent also draws a 1. Alright, so let's pause it for a second. We'll go back. Talon Roll. Target 2 starfighters present at same system or sector. Each player draws destiny. Opponent totals their destiny and their ship's power. You get your destiny, power, and maneuver. So you should have a leg up on them. There is a light side counter to this Corellian slip where light side gets to add their maneuver and their pilot's ability, putting it back in their favor to win that. Usually you'll just see the It's a Hit card be played because that also cancels a couple of other cards and force drains at ground sites. But in this case, we've got power 1 plus this guy adds 3. He also adds 1 to maneuver, so you've got 4, and 4 maneuver was 8. Plus he did the dark maneuvers beforehand, which adds 2 to maneuver and 1 to power, so he was at 11. And his opponent here was just power 3. So that was going to be really tough. Alright, it was going to be impossible to outdraw. He really would have needed the canceller. I'm a little surprised he didn't go after Red Squadron 4 here to get Hobby and the gun out of the battle, or the potential battle that would be coming. I mean, Hobby's only adding 2 to power, so this is only power 5. So he could have gotten rid of this ship instead. But I guess maybe he was just playing it safe because he was afraid of the possibility of his opponent having a counter card for it. So we'll pick it back up. The X-Wings immediately lost. Now he's down to just 2 X-Wings. And he's got a second Talon roll. Alright, now he's going to do it again, and he's going to go after Red Squadron 4 now and try and get rid of Hobby. Knowing that his destinies are higher at this point, that seems like a very reasonable play. And having 2 Talon rolls really just seems to clean things out. Even with his opponent drawing a lot higher, he was still a lot farther behind to start with. It's pretty much guaranteed he couldn't lose. You can see total 15 to 10. I'll throw Hobby in the Bogda tank. Not going to do a whole lot for you at this point in the game, but now we'll get a battle. We'll get Baron shooting. He had the hyper escape. Okay. Move all your starships and vehicles there away. So he can run away, and he can split his stuff up now, which ordinarily would give him a much bigger drain. But in this situation, it actually does not, because now his opponent gets Decree back in effect and cancels the drain bonuses. I believe you have to control, right? Control. So if he had hyper escaped one of his ships in front of Black 2 here at Kashyyyk, then his drain bonus would have worked again, and he would have gotten a drain of 3 at Hoth. So that's one little minor difference there that that Hydra could have done. I'll be honest though, I don't remember seeing a lot of TTO decks back in the day. It's certainly a very card-intensive deck, and when you are playing for differential, because that was the scoring format back then, it was the difference between how many cards you had left when you won the game, when your opponent lost all their life force. That was your ranking, that was your tiebreaker, and that's what determined the pairings in tournaments. So a deck like this that puts a lot of cards on the table certainly was not one of the more popular options for Darkside back then. But now it's going to come a big damage turn. You got to drain a 2 at Endor. You got to drain a 2 at Kashyyyk. You've got 2 more coming. And that would have been a drain of 4 at the docking bay that just got canceled by an X-Wing. Oh, there was secret plans in there. Okay, so we did have secret plans. I guess this was activated his first turn. and he hasn't really drawn into it yet. He's got Scythe 1 and Mienda as well, and a cannon for Mienda. Mienda shoots during the move phase. Obviously, Batmouse would love to try and win a battle here, so he can drop Pride of the Empire, which is similar to Legendary Starfighter for Darkseid. If it's on a tile land, your opponent loses 2 force during the move phase. But I think at this point in time, he's just going to be content just picking off ships where he can and just whittling his opponent down. He's certainly ahead on life force here. He's up 19 to 12. He's doing a lot more damage between these drains of 2 apiece and the TTO damage. Now that the fact that he's limited his opponent to only 1 point of damage, he's certainly in a lot better shape. He does move his Death Star, though. This is kind of key because Mienda does not draw by himself. He just has the Great Weapon text. But the second sector here, you may add 1 Battle Destiny during battles at Death Star 2 system and system it orbits. So by moving it here to Sullust, if Mienda does get battled, he can add a Destiny from the second sector there. So at least Mienda would get a Battle Destiny and wouldn't get run over nearly as bad. And then combined with Imperial Arrest Order, boosting his forfeit, that would certainly, help mitigate things. But Humanhydra's in quite a bit of trouble here. He's just doing drains of 1 and 1, and Batmouse has plenty of cards in hand that he can afford to lose. X-Wing, X-Wing laser cannon, and a 4 tracked on top. That could certainly be very beneficial for light side here. They're going to go ahead and spend the 3 force. Yep. So if you spend 3 with these X-Wing cannons, the same cannon that Baron also has, Destiny plus X create a defense value target hit lost if X equals 3. So if you can spend up to 3 force to add to your Destiny, making it easier to hit. And if you spend the full 3, the ship is immediately lost instead of just being hit. So he'll power up here, take a shot at this thing, which is maneuver 4, but I think he adds 1, so it's maneuver 5. So he's got to beat 5, so he's got to get to 6. Well, he's got a 4 sitting right there, so if he spent 2 force, he would hit it. But spending 3 force guarantees that the ship goes away, which it does. If his opponent had a dark maneuvers, he could play it here, and that would actually have saved the ship because it would have made it maneuver 7. So those will go lost. But he's still in the same situation where he's got a couple of big drains sitting in front of him and a couple of guys with guns as well. And there doesn't seem to be a whole lot that he can do about that. And now he's going to get hit with Voyeur. He's guessed all wings report in. There weren't any in there. There was an organized attack or 2, but no all wings. And we do see the Sense and Alter, certainly a little more common in this format as well, because there aren't the combo versions of There Is No Try, Oppressive Enforcement. Those didn't come out till Reflections 2. And you don't have the defensive shields either, so Sense and Alter are more commonly played in these formats, as well as Control, to cancel those cards. But we certainly see Lightside running out of force pretty quickly. And it should just be one or two more turns before Darkseid can wrap this up. Now, Darkseid can't move any of their ships anywhere to get in front of Lightside. What they have to do is they got to do this the hard way. So what you end up having to do is you have to move the ship to the Death Star, then move the Death Star to another system, and then move the ship from the Death Star back. So it's a little bit of a workaround, but it can be done because you don't need hyperspeed to move between the Death Star and the system it orbits. And Mianda gets this extra little bonus text here. During your move phase, may fire one starship weapon and or make an additional move. So you move to the Death Star, move the Death Star, then make the additional move and move in front of them and fire. And Mianda also adds 2 to his weapon destiny. So short of a few maneuvers, that's going to hit this ship, which will make it immediately lost and get it out of there because we're not in a battle. That's all move phase actions. This Mianda guy with the gun is pretty good. That's why he's still played, nearly 20 years later in the current environment and a lot of these space decks, because that extra movement text is just really good. It's also the reason why combat response says accept Scythe ties, so you can't just move him all over the place shooting everybody. One of the other things Batmouse could do here is he could move, since Janus adds 1 when he's with the Emperor at a battleground site. If he had another battleground, he could try and split these guys up, but unfortunately he doesn't. He can't get to here. There's no other battleground docking base. So he's kind of just stuck with all these guys kind of piled up here. If he had like a capital ship or something, like a dreadnought, sometimes you would see in these tie decks, he could shuttle some of these guys up, and then he could pick it up and move his ties away. But that's really the only way, short of doing the Death Star bounce, that he's got to move characters around. Ooh, we've got a Captain Han and a Falcon sighting. He's going to get hit with an Imperial barrier. He's got a Captain Han sitting on top of his deck, so that wouldn't have done very much anyway. That would have been very disappointing. We'll see Batmouse track around in dark maneuvers to guarantee that he can shoot the Falcon. He's going to all wings. And he does draw a low destiny, so he will get to retrieve a couple cards for having his X-Wings on table. That'll drag things out a little bit longer. All wings are poured in. Once per game, target non-unique starfighter on table, draw destiny. If destiny less than X, retrieve X force, where X is the number of copies of that card you have on the table. So we had 3 X-Wings, so we had to draw less than 3, which he did. So now he gets to retrieve 3 cards. Then Batmouse plays Voyeur again and says all wings report in, and then he'll make him lose a force for having that in there. But now we'll get some more damage coming back the other way. Humanhydra down to just, even with that retrieval, he's still, under 10 force here. Unless that, if he's holding, hopefully that one card he's holding is another X-Wing that he can use for Rebel Fleet to cancel this drain and at least drag the game out one more turn, cut some more differential down. That was a very big part of the game back then, was just dragging games out as long as you possibly could, just trying to get one more drain in, just trying to squeeze out 1 or 2 more cards, because you never know when that's going to come back. it'd make a difference later down the line. And quite often it does. You'll see people win tournaments, by just a few differential, 2 or 3 points, and you got to go back and think to yourself, where could I have squeezed out one more card? Where could I have done one more battle? Blocked one more drain, that kind of thing. Yep, and he just shot the Falcon. This one card in his hand was not something to cancel this drain with. But with Darkseid being unable to move their ships, though, there's no way that they can block any of these drains. So Lightside will at least get to drain a few more cards. Darkseid shouldn't be drawing here. Obviously the little Janus. Put a card back. Obviously he's looking for some used interrupts or something he can possibly play. But in a real tournament format situation, Batmouse shouldn't be drawing here. Because he obviously would want to keep his differential as high as he could. But again, we're not really playing for differential in this type of, casual format or tournament. It's just wins and losses that get counted. We do see there'll be held to play, though. The old school grabbers. This is what you had to use. You got to save 3 force, and when your opponent plays an interrupt, then you got to grab it that way. You don't just have this static little card sitting out there just to use whenever you want to. Certainly took a little bit more commitment in terms of you spending 3 force. And then obviously you had to draw into it, so either you had to find a way to get it into hand or just hold it for a while, hoping your opponent plays something that you want to stop from seeing again. And Batmouse will go ahead and clear out a few cards from hand. And this will probably be where Humanhydra would just draw up, prevent his opponent from retrieving any more force or putting any more of these cards in his hand back. Like that, like a Talon roll. So again, we just talked about, he shouldn't have drawn cards, take them in his hand. Normally his opponent wouldn't have moved in front of him either to give him an opportunity to put some of those cards back. And he'll play Voyeur, and he'll name the card, and he'll kind of just finish this game off. But this was a nice little fun trip back down memory lane, kind of showing you a little bit of the old school style that we used to play back in the day when we were all just kids, just flipping cards at the comic shop. Make us sound like we're like 50 years old now, although some of us are. So hey, and again, I think some of us were back then too. So, but and there you go. Now Hydra goes and concedes the game, and Batmouse wins. It'd be a +11 win for him because that's what many cards he had left if we were counting like we used to. But I think that's just going to wrap it up here for today. Obviously, like I said, I've got something else going on tonight that I want to make sure I'm on time for. I just really want to showcase some of the alternate formats again. We'll do one of these again in the future in a couple weeks. Do another game or two in the Premiere through Death Star 2 format. Let's just take a quick peek and just see if there's anything else going on. Of course not. Yeah, but usually in the middle of the afternoon is where you find a lot of the guys playing the alternate formats. But of course, there's always, the leagues that do pop up from time to time. And then, of course, there's a variety of different formats. So there's a lot of different things that could be played here. And we do want to make sure we give some time and some love to all those formats because GEMP has just so many things to offer, which is why it's such a great platform, and we're very excited about it. And if you haven't signed up for it yet, you should definitely make an account and get on there and start playing just for funsies. And thank you guys for watching. Of course, be sure and subscribe to the PC Twitch site. Up in the top right-hand corner there at Twitch, there's a subscribe button. If you have an Amazon Prime account, then you have a Twitch Prime account. You can link that together. Generates a little bit of revenue for the Players Committee. From what I understand, you do have to renew that subscription each month, though. So please make sure to do that. on a monthly basis. Helps us out a little bit. We appreciate it. Lets us keep doing all the things we love doing for you guys. And like I said, we'll be doing some more of these throwback editions in the future. Hopefully, try and showcase some different variety of decks between them. And thank you guys for watching. Have a great night and happy gaming.